There have been a number of published reports about anomalies and potential anomalies in the state of Michigan. And the Michigan legislature is Republican, and the Speaker of the House, Lee Chatfield, is a very serious man. And we have him on the phone right now. Mr. Speaker, how are you, sir?
Hey, I am doing well. Good evening, Mark. Thanks for having me on the show. I am not calling from an undisclosed location. I'm from Lansing, Michigan, but happy to be on the show, my friend.
Lansing, Michigan. You know, one of my mentors in the Reagan administration, Dr. Lawrence Davenport, from Lansing, Michigan. What a great man, too. Okay, Mr. Speaker, what's going on in Michigan? What are you doing?
Well, we convened a rare committee session a couple days ago, Mark, because we've had reports from across the state of irregularities in our voting process. And what we did is we did something that was pretty historic. We sent evidence preservation letters to a couple clerks here in our state to request evidence from them, to inform them we don't want any evidence destroyed. But we also, even more importantly than that, Mark, we issued a joint subpoena to the Bureau of Elections for all records relating to mass mailings of absentee voter applications and the process by which they mailed those out. What we want to do, Mark, is we want to provide certainty in our state. We want every single voter in the state of Michigan to know that they have a fair process of voting, and we want to ensure that they have peace of mind. That's what the Michigan voter deserves, and we are going to provide that. We're not out right now, Mark, saying that there was mass voter fraud in our state, but there were enough irregularities that we want to do some investigations, we want to do some fact-finding, and if there was fraud, then it will be prosecuted, because that's what we need in our country, that's what we need in our state, is fair elections, and we're going to do all we can to ensure that we have it.
Now, do you think your governor will certify the electors before you guys are done?
Well, some of these subpoenas that we issued and the letters that were requested, we need information back by November 16th. Some of those, the certification by the Board of Canvassers will come in December. So it's really not necessarily up to the legislature or the governor, according to our state law, when those are certified. It's the Board of Canvassers. And should they split and not be able to certify it, well, then we'd have something that would have occurred for the first time in our state. And then it will be somewhat of a constitutional crisis in terms of what happens. Do you follow Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution, where it belongs to the state legislatures, but we do already have a system set in place for how that is to operate. So, Mark, right now, our number one goal is to investigate these irregularities. And I will tell you this is not about being a Republican, Mark. This is not about being a Democrat. This is not about who you voted for. Every single American in our country and every single Michigander who values our constitutional republic and our system of government and our principles and values that got us to this place of being a shining city on a hill should want to ensure that we have fair elections. And when there are irregularities, they need to be investigated. That's what we are doing. That's why we issued the subpoenas. That's why we sent these these letters to these clerks, and that's why we're looking into this Dominion software to ensure everything that was done the right way. And I don't think that's too much to ask from our system of government here in this country.
No, I don't think it does, and I'm sure you had bipartisan support. I'm sure the Democrats are supporting your effort here, aren't they?
Well, I would tell you, Democrats only seem to be supportive of investigations when it deals with a fake Russian hoax or whether it deals with a fake impeachment. I can't say that too many Democrats are in support of this investigation right now, but again, it shouldn't be partisan. And you know what? We are fully welcoming their involvement in this process, because this isn't about being Republican or Democrat. It's about being American. And I will tell you this, Mark, the only way our constitutional republic can exist and work and function is when people in this state and people in this country have certainty in the integrity of our election process, because there's nothing more important than having integrity, and that's what we're looking into. And I would tell you this isn't even about changing the results. This is about ensuring that we don't have mass fraud in our state. This is about ensuring that we don't have people trying to cut corners and cheat our system. And we are going to make sure, as the legislature, we're going to fulfill our constitutional duty in ensuring that we have fair elections here in our state.
So the Democrats are not supporting this effort, Mr. Speaker. How about the newspapers? Are they supportive of getting to the bottom of these issues?
You know, it would seem, Mark, that in the state of Michigan, it's much like what you're seeing out of Washington. I think most newspapers at this point are ready to move on, say the election was fair, and most inquiries have not been, I would describe, as supportive of our efforts to look into these irregularities that have occurred across our state. But I will tell you this, We're not doing this for the press, and we are not doing this for even the Republicans, and we're not doing this for the Democrats. We're doing this because we feel we have a duty to do it. And we're not going to be intimidated by that. We're going to look into this to the best we can. We're going to receive this information from these clerks. We're going to receive the information from the Secretary of State that we subpoenaed, and we're going to look into it. And we're going to make sure that this was done fairly, because I think that is our responsibility, and that's what the people sent us here to do.
A couple more questions, Mr. Speaker. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency says this election was the most secure in American history. Was the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, have they been in touch with your office at all?
They have not. No, Mark. I have not been in communication with them, and I would say this: people.
So they don't. They really don't know what's taking place in Michigan, do they?
I will tell you this: we had more irregularities in Michigan this time than what I can remember in past history, Mark, and that's what we're going to look into.
Let me ask you my next question.
Yep.
16 assistant United States attorneys have announced that they have seen no irregularities anywhere in the country. Have any one of them been in touch with you?
They have not.
So the 16 assistant United States attorneys and the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency in Washington, D.C., they've announced this is clean, this is done, let's move on. You're saying, wait a minute, we don't know clean, done, move on. We're just starting our investigation. And none of them were in touch with you, correct?
That is correct. And what I will tell you is, Mark, is we were the ones elected by the people of our state to ensure we had fair election processes and integrity in our election system. They were. And you know what? I would say this, what my late grandfather said: people do what you inspect, not what you expect. And I tell you what we're going to do is we're going to be inspecting the process of this election system to make sure it was fair. And, Mark, I don't think that's too much to ask for.
No.
People in our state deserve to know that there is still integrity in the election process in our country. This is not about changing the results, but we are going to look into this. We are going to make sure there was no fraud, and we're going to get to the bottom of it if there was. And if there was, I hope those people are prosecuted.
Have the Washington Post or New York Times contacted you to inquire about your efforts here?
Yeah, they've been in contact with my office probably on a daily basis, Mark.
Are they troubled by what you're trying to do?
You know, judging by the questions that I have coming in from the media outlets across the country, I'm not certain, Mark, to tell you the truth, that it's a real, genuine desire to know what we are doing. Mm-hmm. More questions to simply pigeonhole us and to categorize our efforts as trying to undermine the election process, which it couldn't be further from the opposite of that, Mark. We are just simply trying to verify and validate it. We're not trying to undermine anything. We're trying to make sure that there's people in our country who haven't already done that. And I would say this: no one should be afraid of a little investigation to make sure we have integrity in our election process, because I think that's what the people of our state and our country deserve in a time where there's a lot of political division.
You're very wise. What you're doing is very, very important. Here we see the day when, in fact, trying to determine whether there is campaign integrity and voter integrity, and whether everybody's vote that's supposed to count is counted and everybody's vote who's not supposed to count isn't counted, like dead people. I didn't know that was a conservative Republican right-wing issue, but that's where we are today, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank you. Stay strong. We greatly appreciate your efforts at Honest Government.
Thank you, Mark. It was a pleasure being on the show.
God bless you. Take care of yourself. There's the Speaker of the House of Michigan. He, and along with the Senate side, are investigating and have issued subpoenas to determine whether this election was fair and square.
I'm here live in Philadelphia at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. When you hear the phrase lives, fortunes, and sacred honor, these are the folks we should think of, those who anonymously gave their lives. Well, today you have a chance to volunteer. You need to volunteer for conventionofstates.com, the movement that's going to save the country. These folks are willing to step up and give everything. We need you to give just a little bit. Go to conventionofstates.com and volunteer today.